Our product is called Redoct. It's by DreamLeader. DreamLeader is the company. Redoct is like a play on words for document or docking something, like pinning it to a system. And we built a knowledge management platform. We focus specifically on capturing knowledge from the front end and the back end of the software development lifecycle. So we're very focused on software development teams or client services teams. That's our market, our initial market, with a secondary market of college students that could use the product as well. The product takes in data from all sources, so it's files, but also shareable links, meeting notes, wikis, how-tos, abouts, and we put it in a seamless way. What differentiates our system from a lot of the platforms out there is, like SharePoint, Confluence, and some of the other competitors out there, ours is a no design system. There is no design, there's no editing, there's no publishing, there's no templates. It's a seamless profile page for each project. So it's very easy to toggle between different projects and quickly understand what's going on. We are planning to be a SaaS model. In long 5-year chunks is kind of what we're looking at. We've seen that starting to grow in the market right now, where you can be a SaaS model, but you can have like 5-year increments where you have a dedicated commitment for a product like ours. We right now are having a soft launch, which is closed soft launch, where we're partnering with testers and partners right now with our MVP. We are asking for $350,000 to grow the product team, to prepare for marketing, to do a full public go live for our product once it is out of MVP into MSP, minimally sellable, and to grow our user base over the next 1.5 years. We are the company to do this. We have over 10 years experience for myself, but over 30 years experience of knowledge management. We have a team of 5, fully bootstrapped. We've raised over $50,000 to get the MVP off the ground. And so we'll make good use of your money. And that's it. Thanks so much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Dane. Right on time.
All right.
Setting the tone.
Chris, I'll let you go first. Good.
Hey, Dane, that was really well done, man. That was a good presentation. And you included a lot of information in what you said. You specified SharePoint and Confluence as alternatives that people might consider. What are things about Redoct that are better than or different than Confluence? Like, make that come alive for me a little bit, please.
That's a great question. Yeah, like I mentioned, it's a seamless design. So every project page, every team page that you work on with your teams is laid out the same way, even if your content is different. So that way, as your system grows, it becomes like more consistent and you can use that data. Whereas systems like Confluence and SharePoint, as the systems grow, the spaces are disparate and they're different. And so it becomes more cluttered over time. So we become essentially more powerful as the system grows because we're comparing apples to apples. It's very similar to the Facebook versus MySpace problem, whereas MySpace said everyone can design their own page and make it look whatever they want, what they want it to look like. Facebook said everyone's profile structure is going to be the same, but your content is what makes it unique. And that way there's a lot of power in sharing that data. But we're doing that for projects, not people. So we're taking those projects and making it seamless.
Yeah. So would you characterize the people that you're trying to sell to as people who have declined to take on something like SharePoint or Confluence because it's too heavy and too expensive? Or is it people who have taken that on and found, wow, this is unwieldy and I need something that's a little more standardized with a UI that's easier for my people to use over and over?
Yeah, I think it's more of the former. I think SharePoint's baked in a lot of times into the Microsoft suite, like Confluence as well. It's kind of baked into Jira. People are like, hey, if you want to upsell and get Confluence with Jira, you can do that. And so it's always this additive product that people add on. There are competitors now like Asana, Notion, that try to merge project management and knowledge management together. And we're not trying to do that. We're trying to focus solely on the knowledge management piece where you can still keep your Jira or Trello or Write, but you may still have a knowledge management problem where you have a Google Drive or you have something that's exploding and you need a knowledge management solution, but you don't want to commit to Asana or Notion.
Okay, good. Chris, you want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought you did a good job of within 2 minutes hitting on a lot of the things we want to hear about.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that I'd love to hear that wasn't part of it is, like, help me visualize the problem that you're solving. As you mentioned, there's Jira, there's Confluence. My head immediately went to Asana. But there are lots of ways to organize and manage projects and knowledge, et cetera. I'd love to hear what problem it is that you're actually solving in the market.
Right. No, that makes great sense. We are trying to focus on a niche right now, which is if I don't want to go to an all-inclusive platform like Asana, a lot of times there's a lot of companies, a lot of startups as well that are using Trello. They're using maybe Jira. Maybe that's too heavy, but a lot of Trello users, a lot of Rike users that are saying, I have a startup, I have a team of 5 people, I have a team of 10 people, that I love the lightweight feel. I don't want to commit to some heavy enterprise system. And ours is a great complement to that. It's very lightweight, it's very seamless, and it allows you to, you know, link out to some of your Google Drive or your Office files, but also link to all your other things like Sketch and Vision, or even upload PDFs, Word, hard files and soft files. So it's a lightweight tool, the lightweight feel of Trello, but it is a complement to something like that. So if you're not ready to commit to Asana, we hear Asana a lot of times is too expensive, or Notion the same way, because they have to merge project management and knowledge management. And a lot of customers want to keep their way of working, but they need a way to organize now. And we think this is the way to do it.
So the folks who you're going after are people who need project management, right? And who want to have a seamless interface, and for whom SharePoint, Asana, and Confluence are too big and complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
How big of an audience is that?
It's anywhere from 35 to 85 million people, users, and that's based on Trello. It's based on using Trello and Rike and a couple of the other products out there that don't have a complement knowledge management product. So Jira can't be included in that, Asana can't be included in that, and Notion can't be included in that, because those are project management softwares that have either built-in knowledge management, or they have a sister product like SharePoint or Confluence that is already in that market. So outside of that, there's still 35 to 85 million active users that are using Trello, Rike, or something else where they're still using Google Drive. They're using maybe one of these old platforms that they don't want to be on. There's a lot of times I've talked to teams that they're even using Jira, which is even more structured and more enterprise, and they still don't want to use it. So they use like Dropbox, I think it's called Paper, and some of these other Envision spaces that they're trying to use, because they don't want to commit to these heavy enterprise knowledge management systems.
Have you thought about go-to-market? Have you thought about how you're gonna, like, because like the space that you're addressing, it's a real problem, and it's such a real problem. There's a whole lot of companies that are trying to address it. You know,
There are,
and it's crowded. You know,
it is. Yeah,
and
that's
if,
right.
And if you ask most people, you know, tell me the difference between SharePoint, Confluence, Asana, and Trello, they would just decline. They would just say, I don't want to dig into that, like the details at that level. They would say, I'll just pick one and move on. So like, how do you suppose you'll get in front of prospective users in a way that'll be economical and will have scale?
Yeah, breaking in, is tough because there are so many baked-in products. That is the difficulty. So we are focused specifically on small startups, teams that aren't committed with, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, Confluence, all these enterprise things that are already baked into their pricing and their SaaS models for the next year forecasting. So a lot of smaller teams we're getting in with, and also, like I mentioned, our secondary market is college students. The tool can actually be worked really well for taking notes in class and putting content in there, not just files, but even link shares to other documents and things like that. And we feel if we can get in these younger companies and also college students, they will also bring it into the marketplace, because we're in it for the long term. We're not in it to just see if it happens, really quickly. So we know if we can get in some of these and grow with them, those small startups and these companies using smaller tools like Trello or Rike or even Jira at this point, and have it committed to the big enterprise, I think we will listen to the market and grow with them.
And Dane, we do have a quick question here. What research have you done to validate this idea? And that is from somebody in the crowd.
Sure. No, that's a great question. Like I mentioned, we've been doing it. I've been in some form of knowledge management actually for over 10 years now. And so what I've done over my work history essentially is within Confluence, within SharePoint, within even like other server spaces and things like that. I've had to build out these knowledge management systems using these platforms before. So I've seen what works, what doesn't, what makes it seamless, what makes what works to speak languages, not just in a development team, but how could a salesperson look at another project and resell it to another client just by using the content from a software development team? How could a project manager look at a project and see that? So to be able to speak the same language across the system, I've been doing that and building these spaces, making them seamless, making them easy to use, easy to understand, not overwhelming you with content over and over again for all of the organizations essentially that I've worked for, either as my full-time job or as a part-time job on the side, and really validating a lot of these things with real-world experience.
Great. And then Chris and Chris, we have about a little bit over 2 minutes left if you guys have any final questions.
So Dane, I think that you seem like an extremely sharp person. And in looking at your background, it's apparent that this is a tool that you wish you had when you were a scrum master at some of the jobs you've had in the past, right?
Sure, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Like a lot of times that's a great formula for success when someone who makes something that they needed. This is a crowded space. The entry price points are really low. And in my opinion, the value proposition that you articulated was good, but not so differentiating and compelling that I think you'd have an easy time finding early traction. And so my suggestion to you, if you pursue this, is try and find a niche where the benefits that Redoct offers are so compelling and so meaningful. It could be the smallest niche. Dude, it can be University of Georgia Business School. Like it can be something teeny tiny that you can own, where your benefits are so compelling that people adopt it because it's just instantly better for them. Because I think in your case, if you attempt to go broad, it's going to be frustrating. Right? You're going to get a lot of positive feedback that doesn't result in signups. Right? And that's the worst feedback in the world, because it stimulates you to keep going, but it doesn't give you money. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the worst. And so I think I don't know if you're onto something with the product or not, but I think that the market you're addressing is going to present a lot of challenges.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, do you guys hear me now?
Yes, I was going to have you do a check. Yes,
I was noticing. I'm like, I think something's going on.
We're just ignoring you, Chris.
Yeah, right.
That's fine. Hey, I'm used to it.
Do you have any final thoughts, since you did have audio issues? Did you have any final parting words?
I thought when we started digging in a little bit more, you started, like when you said software developers and college students during the pitch, it felt like a little bit random about who your customers were. I like the way you stitched it together in the sense of these, startup software developers teams and college students are two people that maybe don't have access to enterprise level tools today. And the idea is you want to acquire people kind of pre-enterprise and grow with them as they sort of develop their knowledge management needs. I think that's a good element to kind of bring back in, because again, my original thought was, I'm not so sure he knows who his customer is yet, because these are two incredibly different segments. And so I get a little worried about how he's going to go and acquire them, or how expensive his customer acquisition is going to be from day one. So I like the fact that you distilled that down in the end. But I agree, it's a crowded space. I think being able to talk about your differentiation, whether that's downstream, whether that's cost or features, is going to be a real key for you. Because I do think many investors or people who are knowledgeable about this space are immediately going to start ringing up all the different knowledge management systems they use or access these days. And so I do think kind of hitting on that within the conversation is going to be important. But
yeah, I would really echo that. I took a course one time on positioning at the University of Michigan, where they said, in what context can you describe your company as the only, right? The only, and that's really challenging to be the only. But if you can be the only for something, that defines a market you could potentially dominate.
Right.
There's a great book called Play Bigger on that subject, if you ever want to read about defining a market where you are the only person who does something.
Awesome. Well, that's time for the questions. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
If anybody